Okay, I've got a string down here on some of the, on the last four, two on each side of the wire ties, and I've got some clamps with supporting wood inside and out. I'll have another shot down here on the other end, just to hold this thing in shape, to get the plywood to bend into this new tortured shape. They call it tortured plywood construction. So this hole will definitely torture the plywood. And then I got one of my sandbags up here with a spreader and a couple clamps to hold the top part, so this whole thing will be separated. And then I'll go ahead and put the transom in, but it won't be wired in, it'll be screwed in from the side. I'll put in lots of gel magic and then screw it in from the side with stainless screws. You can see here I got one of my big vice grips with a piece of plywood on the inside and the outside to protect this this joint right here, and I got another little clamp down here just sitting on a block of wood to compress the middle of this board here. And I would advise that you go ahead on the last maybe 2 feet of the hole from the very end back to about in here and put a layer of glass on the inside and the outside. I don't know if you can see it down there or not. See where I put in a layer on this lower and I need to get some clean visqueen that doesn't have paint on it, but that'll all get sanded off. I didn't put one on this side yet, but I have room for it, and I may do that yet. But I'm going to go ahead and let this thing set for at least 4 or 5 days in order to get the plywood to start bending around. And I think I might even get my sprayer out and spray both sides with a little bit of liquid. And then I got another spreader bar in here. Let me walk down here with my steady cam, and then I've got that down there holding it apart. So I'm still debating whether or not to chop the sides of the hole down. We'll see how it goes. I do like the bow, and then if you come up into here, you can see it has that nice little cupping effect down in there that I just really like that. And you don't have to pay extra for that. Okay, let's go on to something else. Okay, you'll remember me saying to save the wood when you're cutting out the panels here. And these are the ones that the bottom end, the stern end of the lower panel came on when we made that short little cut in there. There's plenty of wood in there in order to get out your triangle. And where's the other one at? And then when you have your 14-inch square and you make the triangle cut, you wind up with these guys, 2 of them per the one, and so we'll wind up putting them in the middle. The other one's down at the other end there I was testing with. We'll laminate up 3 layers, so that'll give us 4, 8, 12 millimeters, which is about a ½ an inch. So that'll give us a heavy enough transom in order to mount the little electric paddle motor on. So let me go ahead and mix up some epoxy, and we'll laminate this thing up while the back of the hole is taking on a new shape. You can hear it screaming as we set here. Well, I've got my System 3 silver tip laminated epoxy all mixed up, and I'll go ahead and scrape on a coat. Always not wanting that. Probably on these got some plywood where the grain is going sideways to make more of a laminated effect, but there's already that grain going this way on the sandwich in between the 2 surface layers. So there's plenty of plywood going in the right directions. And pour come need a lot of clamping pressure with the epoxy. You don't want to squeeze it out of the joint. Okay, we can put this someplace where it's not going to stick to anything else. That's a good spot. And just let it drip dry. Well, I alluded to earlier in one of the other episodes when I was putting this thing together, the transom may or may not be the way it's designed, and that's the way it was designed. And as an even isosceles triangle with equal angles and sides and all that, but I found that the plywood does not want to match up to that equilateral triangle. So, back to phase again, you know, or back to the drawing board, I should say, to another transom panel that does fit. So I, I had the leftover plywood. Remember, we left it in big sheets, as big as possible, and I was able to get some more, 3 layers of smaller out of it in order to fit down into the spot right here. And let me switch over to another view of this thing so you can see what I've got here. Okay, I've got a better angle here coming down the center line of the boat. So I've got a couple just pieces of scrap wood, and I've got them bagged. I got plastic bags around them, so when I do put the Gel Magic on, they won't stick to the blocks, that I'll be able to tape them up again. But you'll see where I've kind of put a couple Spanish windlasses in on the bottom to kind of hold the thing together into shape. And then once I get, is this the outside? Once I get this into position, then I know that it's, when I get the glue on it, that all I got to do then is put on a clamp down here and just lightly hold it in position. And I got to get a couple other screws or something in here to hold the sides together. And then I'll be all ready to mount this. So let me go ahead and mix up some Gel Magic, put this thing in together, put this thing in, and then we can go on with it. I've got some. I've got the Gel Magic pushed into the seam. There's quite a gap here where the 2 panels come in at quite an angle, but we'll fill that up with the fairing compound when we get around to making the easy fill, sticking that in. But go ahead and clean up your edges. These will be taped, and then take some of the excess. There's a little gap right in here. We can go ahead and do a little bit of jump stitching out. Once this cures, then I'll come back and do the official jump stitching on all the seams, and then we can pull the wires and the bolts. I got some screws along here, 2 on each side and 1 on the bottom to hold the transom panel in place until Gel Magic cures. And I've said before in other ones, always make your transom panel at least 1/4 of an inch taller than what it says in the design, because you want it to be taller than the side panels when it comes back, because you will then trim this down to these guys. I just wanted to show you how I filled the gap in there where the sides come together with the Gel Magic. And you can see the angle that you'll have. That all gets filled up with, I'll put some more Gel Magic on it, but mainly it'll get filled up with the fillet compound. And then those seams will get glass taped. And there you can see where we filled in some of the gap. I've got tape in behind there, and I just took the putty knife and smeared the excess Gel Magic into that gap. I could probably remove that wire and bolt and it'll never move. But if you have on your boats, or any of the boats you ever build, have gap like that, just cover the back side with tape and fill it up with Gel Magic, and then go ahead and shape it on the outside if you have to with filing it down. So we'll see some of that later when we get done with this boat upside down. So I'll let that cure, and we'll come back and pull everything off, and I'll go ahead, next thing up will be jump stitching the interior seams again. And that'll be it.